Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to the first episode of Phillip Edward Alexander Live. Tonight we're joined in studio by Murphy, whose law is guaranteeing that anything that can go wrong will. So we are going to make the best of the one camera shot from tonight. Our guest tonight was supposed to be Dr. Paul Elias Alexander, world-renowned epidemiologist, and my brother. He may not be able to make it. We are doing our best to see if he can join. So between now and then, the intention is to get as many people as possible viewing tonight with us. This is meant to be a weekly show. And you would think that somebody who has done over 5,000 hours of live video, there'd be no nerves. But it's still, when you have to carry a TV show on your own, I don't know what kind of numbers we're going to get on the via TV. I know that we get millions of viewers on the live videos, and that doesn't make me nervous. So we will get past this. I want to repeat so everyone knows, we are live on. I'm getting WhatsApps telling me that I'm looking very sexy, so do not try to adjust your TV. This is just how sexy it is. I have one of our team members is trying to get Watson Duke on the line. That may also happen tonight, as well as none of it may happen. But if it doesn't, rest assured, this is the first of a series of Thursday night 8 p.m. shows that will, if successful, morph into an every night affair, which should give the powers that be heartburn. I'd like to invite you to call your friends, family, and tell them that Phil is on. WhatsApp them and text them. This show is fat-free, low-calorie, and gluten-free, so you don't have to worry. Make it a guilty pleasure. I have to share it to the millions on WhatsApp who are also looking forward to what we do. Tonight we're going to touch on the issue of $5 billion on top of the $10 billion that was spent on our pandemic response. So, the nation was told by the media that we were at 96%. If you see me looking down, I apologize if people tell me get the point via WhatsApp. I really do have to share this to the WhatsApp crew, and it's only me to do it because Satish and his crew are busy just trying to keep all the ducks in a row for this hour. So let's talk about that $5,000 million that Junior Finance Minister Brian Manning told the nation that the government spent on trying to fight a pandemic. The Minister of Finance himself said that we spent in excess of $5 billion, and 2022 budget is going to have more money being spent on fighting COVID-19. My question is, when we researched Dr. Abdul Richards' claim that 96% of the ICU beds were in use because of COVID spike, and we found out that Trinidad only had 51 ICU beds for a population of 1.4 million people and 250,000 Venezuelans and other illegal aliens. It didn't sound like a sensible number. 51 beds. 51 beds. There are more than 51 beds in your street. For this entire country to have 51 ICU beds was embarrassing. It was damning, especially in light of the fact that we were supposed to have spent $5 billion on COVID. So we asked, why are there not more beds? Then, as if to add insult to injury, I did a video at the Gene Fair complex where the United States government donated one of two field hospitals. And our Chief Research Officer, Kendall Baggy, sent me information from the United States Embassy that said 40 ICU beds came with those field hospitals. So if we only had 51 beds and the United States gave us 40, did we go into 2020, the start of the pandemic, with 11 ICU beds? That number doesn't make sense for 1.4 million people and 250,000 guests of the then Minister of National Security, Stuart Young. So to treat 1,650,000 people, to start off a pandemic that you know is coming, because in January 31st to be exact, the Minister of Health caused the President, Her Excellency Paula May Weeks, to pass into law Public Health Ordinance, Legal Notice number 34, that said we knew that this pandemic was coming and that it was going to have a devastating effect on our public health. So if we had 11 beds then, and we got 40 beds from the Americans that brought us to the 51 beds, what did we spend $5 billion on? Then 2 days ago, someone called me in a panic because a Japanese resident had collapsed 9 o'clock that morning. And he was an elderly chap. He wasn't speaking much English. And they called to get an ambulance. First, they called the National Ambulance 811, and they told them, well, they have no ambulances and they can't respond. And advised them to call the paid Prestige ambulance service. And they tried getting them, and they said, well, they don't have an ambulance at all. So by the time I got there at 11 o'clock, the woman who had this Japanese resident in her house, she was suffering from a panic attack and in tears. And when I called the ambulance service live and online, the person who answered asked me to call 811. When I did, they said they had no ambulances. When I called her back, she said, okay, Mr. Alexander, we're going to come and try and respond, but I'm dealing with a patient right now. Which meant that the ambulance service call center was inside of an ambulance, dealing with patients themselves. And I started to ask again, because when you listen, when you read the numbers that we spend for this ambulance service, it doesn't add up. The next day, CNC3 broadcast that the owners of the ambulance service and its spokesperson, a fellow by the name of Paul Anderson, said that the 48 ambulances that we have in Trinidad and Tobago were struggling because of the COVID spike. Now, a while back, a woman by the name of Charmaine Kelly, well, actually her son, who's friends with my son, her son called my son to tell him that his dad died. And he died from a heart attack. But he was upset because his dad died and they were waiting for 2 hours for the ambulance while he was having that heart attack. In the United States of America, in places like New York City, there is a magic 15 minutes that you're allowed, a special, a golden 15 minutes that an ambulance is allowed. After that, they're guilty of malpractice and reckless endangerment, and they could be charged, criminal charges, because there's an expectation of care and concern. So way back then, I had started to champion this cause. The owners of the company took us to court for daring to put this information in the public space, and that worked its way through Trinidad's legal system. And one of the things that we thought was going to come out of that was that the ambulance service was going to live up to its obligations to Trinidad and Tobago. Hearing them say that they have 48 ambulances, knowing that the Minister of Health, Terence D'Alsing, said way back in 2016, that the ambulances were going to reach 50 on the way to 74, which was what the contract called for. But my question again is, if we spent $5 billion on COVID-19, and we have the same amount of ICU beds that we had before COVID-19, and we have the same amount of ambulances we had before COVID-19, what did we spend $5,000 million on? When one considers we spend in excess of $5 billion every year. In the last 10 years alone, we've spent $50 billion on public health. Where does that money go? And who is ever going to account or audit this? The entire staff of the ambulance company are reaching out to me again, WhatsApping, calling, and telling me that they're lying. We do not have 48 ambulances on the ground at any point in time. That at best we have 22 and 23, and the Ministry of Health is aware of this. And that Terence D. Alsing knows. People are in danger, lives are being lost. Because ambulances taking 2 and 3 hours. For this Japanese resident, it took 6 hours. I filmed a woman in an accident, the side of the road, while 25 other Trinidadians were lined up administering CPR, trying to keep her alive, while an ambulance took over an hour to get to her and she eventually passed away. Now, that happened live on a video. So I want to ask Terence D. Alsing, I want to ask Colm Imbert, I want to ask Brian Manning, if we've stopped doing elective surgeries, we've shut down the wound clinics, we've reduced our cancer clinics, the elderly who are going for ophthalmological, any optical, any dental, in any of the public health centers are getting appointments 2, 3, 4 years down the road. If we have a parallel health sector, where is the normal health sector? How many beds are there in the normal health sector to contrast to the 51 ICU beds that you say are reserved for the parallel health sector? And if 96% of the parallel health sector ICU beds are filled with COVID-19 patients, and if the country only has 51 beds, and you have 51 patients, what happens to any other sickness, illness, disease, accident, emergency that requires intensive care? How do we not have a normal public health system? How were they allowed to rename the existing wards, the existing nursing staff? How were they allowed to rename that parallel, but it is the exact same thing, just with turning people away now? How were they allowed to do that? How were they allowed to carry on with less ambulances than we had before there was a pandemic? So I want to ask the Minister of Health, if it is the spike causing the problems for the 48 ambulances, what was causing the problems for the 48 ambulances before 2019? In 2014, 2015, 2016? What was causing that problem? How could we have not added a single bed? Since I released that information and that video, and it went viral worldwide, the Minister of Beds, Dr. Marian Abdul Richards, because all we ever hear from her is a standing bed count and how many people are in it. But she doesn't tell us the number of beds. She gives us a frightening percentage. And I believed, and I said in that video, when I went to film the American donated field hospital, it was empty. The security present told me it had been shut down 3 months ago. Since that video came out, within 48 hours, they've reactivated the field hospital. Now, if you pass there, it's fully operationalized again, but with black cloth surrounding it to hide it. They've announced once again, the country has been told by a minister of health that the ambulance service is going to add more ambulances. It never happens, but we've been told again. We've been told by Dr. Marian Abdul Richards that 6 beds have been added to the 51 beds. So we're now at 58, or her number is 60. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. If we have 60 ICU beds for the parallel health sector, and we only have 60 beds in the country, when people need ICU for knockdown, accident, shot, chop, heart attack, cancer, diabetes, stroke, other accidents, fall off roof, poison control, when people need intensive care, if all the intensive care beds are now called parallel health sector, where do these people go? If we've spent, on top of the $10 billion we've spent on the hospital in the last 2 budgets, 2020, 2021, if we spent $10,000 million on the hospitals, on public health, 10,000 million. And then Junior Finance Minister Brian Manning says we spent a further $5,000 million. What did we spend that on? If we have the same amount of ambulances, same amount of wards, same amount of nurses, less beds, what did they spend it on? And isn't it time for an audit of the public health system to see if the rumors of $5 million tent rentals and $10 million generator and toilet rentals actually taking place? To see if there is any truth to the rumor that equipment coming through the front door of the hospital exits through the back door of the hospital, that medicines come to the hospital invoiced 50 and 100 times the price the private sector pays. Isn't it time, if we spent $15,000 million on our public health in the last 2 years, isn't it time we asked on what? That's a question for the entire government, the parliament, the cabinet, Her Excellency the President, the acting, well, we don't have a commissioner of police, the director of public prosecutions, the chief justice, civic society, everybody. That's a question for any doctors association still active. Is there still a medical practitioners association of Trinidad and Tobago? If we've spent on our public health more money than Barbados spends as their budget, what did we spend it on? The average person did not get any relief. No one that I know got any money for the entire 22 months that this country has been on again, off again, lockdown, 6 months of continuous lockdown, 6 months of curfew and state of emergency. There is nobody that I know that has gotten any rent relief. Any business that I am aware of got any business relief. The banks that the Minister of Finance said in his first address on COVID-19 that the banks had reached out to them and was willing to work with the government and defer loan installments. He didn't tell the public then that while they were deferring loan installments, that interest was going to be not only running, was not only going to be due and owing, but was going to be due and owing in a lump sum at the end of that lockdown, and that many people with lost sales or reduced revenues found themselves staring down the double barrel of the debt that they were owing, with additional interest compiled and added and expected now. Where does the average citizen of Trinidad and Tobago go when they realized that nothing that was set out as promised for COVID-19 and this pandemic was made available to anybody. Nothing. We've bought vaccines in secrecy. We have non-disclosure agreements from suppliers. We don't know what's in the vaccine. We don't know how much it costs. We know that it has an expiry date that is a philosophy, is not really a rule that you could change the expiry date to suit yourself. Where we stand as a nation tonight, facing an election in Tobago, and the election that we're facing in Tobago is a very significant election for something so unessential, so not noteworthy. But at the point we are in our history, the people of Tobago have a very heavy burden to bear. The people of Tobago now have a responsibility to show the world and to show the government that the people of Trinidad and Tobago are not happy. And the only way that that happens, the only thing that saves Trinidad and Tobago right now is if the PNM loses completely in Tobago. We witnessed as a nation a commissioner of police assaulted by the Prime Minister and the President of the Republic. We've watched a police service commission collapse because of their actions, because of their machinations and their involvement. Gary Griffith is still sitting there, waiting, trying to understand how could somebody else. He sent me a message today about how could the accounting officer be making decisions that is the remit of a commissioner of police, days away from the appointment of a new police service commission. Is it that the accounting officer is aware that he is going to be made permanent in the position? And what if that does happen? What does that say about Trinidad and Tobago? Other than we are nothing more than a tin pot dictatorship. What else does it say? Take a look at what happened to the Commissioner of Police. Take a look at what happened to the Police Service Commission. Look at what takes place in the House of Representatives, where the Speaker of the House of Representatives routinely bars anyone not in support of the ruling government from which she is a part from speaking or speaking on issues, holding them to a line that she does not hold the government to. How is that not dictatorship? The Senate President runs the Senate as if it's her own bedroom, and senators are abused. And we talk about privilege committees, and we talk about rules and regulations, but nothing coming out of the Parliament, either house, is doing anything for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We have an Attorney General bent on writing laws that removes free speech, other civil liberties, and human rights. Laws that should have required two-thirds majorities have been rewritten to somehow be passed by a simple majority, despite the fact that they frustrate the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. How is this still considered a democracy? If the Prime Minister and the President gets away with usurping the authority of the Independent Police Service Commission once appointed and dictating round the back end who can and cannot be Commissioner of Police, how is that a separation of powers? If the opposition wants to raise in the Parliament, French for to speak, the place for speaking, that's why it's called the Parliament. Why is it lawful in Trinidad that the Speaker of the House can bar them from speaking? How is that right? How is that just? How is that legal? And most importantly, how is that democratic? How is this still a democracy? What is it going to take for us to realize that our democracy has been overthrown by this government? There is no accounting for anything. Ex-Senate President Timothy Hammersmith raised the alarm when the Procurement Act was gutted to legitimize government corruption. We have made a joke of the rule of law and have passed laws that is giving the government the right and the authority to do wrong. Outside of countries like Venezuela and even China, where else in the world could you see a situation where this much wrongdoing takes place and the average person has no one to turn to and nowhere to go to raise an alarm? My question tonight to Trinidad and Tobago is this: are you satisfied? Are you happy? Are you content? Are you comfortable to live in a country knowing that the democracy is in peril? I sat and watched the news media make a joke of the freedom of the press. They are not asking questions. They are not pressing the government. They are not following up on issues. We have press conferences where the journalists who are allowed to appear, I am told this by journalists, the journalists who are allowed to appear are handpicked and they pre-ask their questions. So when you have people like Ovashi Tiwari and others who push beyond the government's lines in the sand, they are barred from coming to the press conferences, essentially silencing the people's right to know. If you're having press conferences where you limit the people that can attend, but you go to Scotland in rooms of 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 people and don't see the difference, and don't see that the contradiction, if you don't see that our entire media should be invited to every single government press conference and allowed to ask any question they please, if this is a real democracy, if you don't realize that the government is trampling on every right enshrined in the Constitution, if you don't see that, we're in more trouble than we could imagine. It is going to fall to the people of Trinidad and Tobago to stand together as one and to unite over these assaults on our democracy. I ask again, I return to where I start. If we spent $5 additional billion on top of the $10 billion that we spent over the last 24 months on public health, if we have the same beds, if we have the same ICU, if we have the same ambulances, if nothing's changed, if trying to manage a spike in a pandemic, we only have 48 ambulances and 51 ICU beds that just magically became 60. What do we spend that money on? And who do we go to get an answer from that? I want to thank Satish for the work that he's done to make this possible tonight. I want to thank, and I need to read it, so I apologize. I want to thank our sponsors. Actually, I'm waiting. I'm getting a lot of WhatsApps on 682-2110 of people sending congratulations on the new show. I forgot to say at the start of the show, if you want to have your questions read and answered, you can WhatsApp me right now live 682-2110, and I will read your questions and I will answer it while live. We've been waiting on a response from both of the guests that we were supposed to have tonight. It doesn't look like those are going to happen, but that's okay. We could carry this through. This is the inaugural episode for those of you now joining of Phillip Edward Alexander Live. It is expected to be a weekly Thursday night 8 p.m. show, and you could tell everybody that we're on. I also would like to thank the team behind the Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago, whose hard work has made it possible for us to do this and to get this done. It's been a long journey getting past the obstacles the free speech put in our place, in our path. We've not been allowed our constitutional right to be interviewed on traditional media. We've been blocked and barred by those who hold those purse strings. Now that may sound very frightening, and that's the intention. Because I want you to take a long, hard look at what passes for government in Trinidad and Tobago, what passes for the rule of law. Take a long, hard look and tell me if it is not a frightening thing. Satish is also telling me that we have no ads, so I have to speak for now. So excuse me for that water break. We can take some calls, and I will put on Bluetooth. We can take some calls on 682-2110. If you're calling, you need to tell us where you're calling from, and if you're calling, you need to listen to me on your phone and not on your device, because there may be a delay. That's 682-2110. All of this unplanned, and let's see if we could take it. People are messaging me continuously for my brother, Dr. Paul Alexander's method of treating with COVID, and I'm going to have to leave that up to him to do himself. Hello, good evening, you're live.
Hi, good night, Phillip.
Hey, good night, Janice.
Janice Leamon, the Creaky, calling from Sugar Martin.
Pleasure to have you.
I must say that this initiative certainly is a game changer. And I know that the message is going to reach a lot more people now that we are actually on television. I have to say that you've done a fabulous job in pushing forward this initiative, and I know it's going to go places. So good job, and have a good night.
Thank you very much. That's our PRO, Janice Leamon Creaky. She wears other hats. Right now, she's assisting with the setup of the business affiliates program. People who are accustomed to watching the live video telling me to play some of the trademark soca are listening loud and proud with my grandmother. Good night, Grandma. Good night. From someone sending a WhatsApp. Tell her good night for me. I got from Senator David Nackett, Elf Mabruk, for your new TV station, my brother. Well, it's a TV show, but thank you. And Senator Nackett, we look forward to having you as a guest at some point on the show. To the people who are sending jokes, this is not that kind of show. Right. Somebody made a joke and say all of the 1% will buy out this TV station that I am on just because they don't want me to have the access to public media. Somebody said, free up yourself, now man, drink some tea at your style. It's the first episode, and there are a lot of new guests on the show, so we don't want to frighten them away before they get accustomed to us. It's a whole new setup too. I'm looking into a camera different to the situation with a live video, and more importantly, a lot of things that were supposed to happen tonight fell apart minutes before, and we're literally winging it. I'd like to thank Victoria Foods Grab and Go, 14 to 17 Park Street. They are one of our sponsors. It's a great initiative. Again, a lot of congratulations and a lot of well done. Thank you, Ms. Dominique. Um, Victoria Foods Grab and Go, and their thing is they represent big and small restaurants and suppliers of food, and they deliver anywhere in Trinidad and Tobago. 218 Food, that's 218 Food, or you can go 14 to 17 Victoria Square, which is right after Arapita Avenue in the vicinity of Power Gen Laparo Cemetery. So all the people who are messaging me and saying that you're taking me in, and I know that many of you are accustomed to the live show, the difference between this show and the live videos is, of course, it is TV, and we have different rules and regulations. Congratulations, Philip, from Michael and Jenny from JC Men and Jen Couture. We are both taking in the TV on TV Ampere Channel 119. Good night to you all. And also, yes, you can use the opportunity to let me read your company's name on air. Watching from Florida, no weapon formed against you will prosper. Thank you very much for that. Hi, Philip. What's happening with the property tax issue? What Citizens Union doing about it? I have not filled out this application. I want to say that we are being very cautious as to what we advise people to do. But we did learn that if the government does not get 50% of property owners to submit a self-valuation, then the whole thing collapses. So I think that that's what they are fighting hard at. Greetings, Philip, New York here. Great start, a fantastic new beginning. Congratulations, hearing and seeing you loud and clear. Thank you for that. I personally can't wait to see the rebroadcast of the show to see how it looks. I know that we're on Facebook as well, we're on YouTube, and we're on many channels. If you're on any of them, it's how Satish tell me he have no ads to run. So no breaks for you, Phil. I need the list of sponsors, please. So if anybody in the production team could WhatsApp that to me, I'd appreciate it. What's your stance on the opening of our beaches and rivers? I think that it's an abuse of office that the state has prevented people from being able to access the beaches, especially. Seeing that science knows that vitamin D, D3 especially, is one of the greatest things that you could use to fight COVID-19, and natural sunlight, salt water, fresh air. The contradiction of you being able to go to privately owned water parks and bathe in recycled water, but not be able to go in the energizing and curative waters. The person who invented the television set was not a Trinidadian, but he lived in Trinidad, in Santa Cruz. He was sent here because he had a lung disease, and the doctors sent him to live in Trinidad so he could access the beach. This is many years ago when the television set was invented. I guess about 100 years ago. But they sent him here so that he could go to the beach regularly and get hot sun and salt water. COVID-19, what is COVID-19 but a lung disease? So you're telling me you're going to block people from the one thing that we have for free that they should have access to? I find it laugh out loud funny when we see people social distance in the airport 6 feet apart and then go and sit down cheek by jowl inside the plane. Good night, congratulations, San Fernando. Somebody saying nothing on flow. Satish, are you checking up on that? Looking forward to your San Fernando office. Congrats, Phil. Toronto chapter pressing forward. Good night. Satish, we're getting complaints that there's nothing on floor. I believe we're supposed to be on floor 114. Could somebody tell us if you are watching? Congratulations on the new TV show, Watching from New York City. Now, I'm feeling bad to be reading all of these congratulations in lieu of giving you more information, but I know a lot of these people just want to celebrate along with us. And then by next week, Thursday, the show will be spitting fire as we have guests, and I expect to have none other than former Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith, live on next week, Thursday. Somebody just told me they're on flow and we're good. So that person who said nothing on flow, unplug your TV and plug it back in. And that was from Chase Village. We just got Diego Martin saying flow working by them. Maraval saying flow working by them. Chase Village, you pay your flow bill? Nah, just joking. Trin City saying they're on flow, so I guess that's enough. Nobody else needs to tell me. Congratulations on your TV broadcast. I would really like to get in touch with Watson Duke so you'll be aware of the corruption in Tobago with the P&M food card in exchange for votes. More than food cards, Keith Rowley announced that he will take taxpayers' money and pay people in Tobago for their votes. More crime again. That is criminal. That is a criminal act. Where is the Director of Public Prosecutions? People saying, talk more, you're sounding nervous. I'm not, well, a little bit. Excellent move to further empower the people of Trinidad and Tobago. You're looking like our next Prime Minister. Yes, do not adjust the sexiness on your channel. Chaguanas West on floor is working. Chase Village, the problem seems to be on your end. Good night, Mr. Alexander. Congratulations on your show. I'll be watching a show that finally makes sense. If possible, can you feature the early retirement of persons from the Defense Force, especially in light of the criminality in the country, as all other public servants retire at 60, while Defense Force personnel retire from as young as 45 years old. Please keep my name private as I have additional information to send for you. Keep up the great work. I never sell my sources. You could send me anything. I get information ahead of the media, ahead of law enforcement. I get information that the government don't have. I protect my sources. Feel free to send me. Good night, Mr. Alexander. Congratulations to your team. Great job. May God bless all of you. I do not find enough of these shows, enough of these messages are focusing on the amount of sexiness. We're bringing sexy back to the TV. Is your live show on Digicel? And I will tell you what channel it's on Digicel. Somebody just asked me to talk about recall as law, and we could. On Digicel, it's channel 22. Check it on channel 22 on Digicel. Congratulations on empowering your voice to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Okay, so a lot of these are congratulations, and I think that many of these should come with cake. The reality that faces Trinidad and Tobago right now, that a lot of people feel disenfranchised and disempowered. They feel like there is nobody to turn to, and it is why the residents of Highland Park called me to deal with the issue of their lamppost that was gushing water, which is an insane situation. And they said they didn't know who to call, if it was Wassa or TNTech, so they called both, and both of them promptly ignored them. So for 6 months, there was an electric pole. And if you doubt me, we have a video on it, and we could get that to show. Oh yes, we're taking calls. Hello, good night, you're live?
Yeah, and good evening, Mr. Phillip. I'm calling from Grandy.
Good evening.
We're looking at a star on TV there, man.
Tell me this thing, man.
I the guy who sent the police graveyard thing with the police video and thing.
Yes, thank you for that. Thanks a lot for those images. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We are getting you on flow 114.
Yeah, so Chase Village, he's his own problem. Yeah, he's his own problem. He need to check his.
Yeah.
He need to check what goes on.
Okay then.
All right, my friend.
Yeah.
Thanks for
you take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks.
And yeah, every Thursday we will be taking calls on all the shows. So everyone who is tuned in and listening, just remember that. Again, texts. Okay, so here there's one. Good night, Mr. Alexander. You're undoubtedly super brilliant and so very undervalued in this unforgiving country we are part of. This is how all messages should start. I believe your message and all the purity you stand for is pure gold, sir, and being the communication specialist that you are, do a fantastic job at getting it out there. Can you speak to the degree of media penetration that PEP does receive from the corrupt media? I believe this message would permeate far deeper into the electorate if they would give the movement the mainstream airtime that it deserves. They are scared of the point of purity that you come from. The PNM UNC really have no idea how to combat it. And I believe it's the silver bullet to rid the country of them all. Please have a blessed night. Thank you very much for all of that. Well written. There's nobody to complain to. We've been told take them to court. We've been told seek judicial review. Constitutional review, and that is expensive amounts of money. So, but we have been building tremendously, and so we hope to be able to accomplish that. Hello, good evening, Eli.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Alexander.
Yes, sir. Where are you calling from?
Siobhan as well.
Nice.
A calling concerning the frustration that the citizens of this country facing right now, right? And I'm pretty sure that all your viewers on the same page with me right now. Because what's going on in this country, people just naturally fed up at the squandering and the wasted of the money with the government wasting, right? And we, the taxpayers, they're expecting we know the hard-working citizens of this country to fund the treasury by paying property tax and sending we back. Look how long people them work for this year and last year. All these lockdowns, people using the savings to try and survive, boy. People can't make again. And now you come and just tell me that we had to pay property tax for the house that we work hard and build and pay VAT on everything we buy for we property. We had to come out and pay property tax to live in we house. That's real unfair, man. I'm glad that you come out of this program now because you're giving people extra forward now to talk about the issues now, right? Because a lot of people don't have a voice in it. And there's only very few programs we can actually call and actually talk about the problems that people facing now, right? If you understand what I'm saying here.
I absolutely do, and I agree with you, and I appreciate your call. And you could send me a WhatsApp on 682-2110 after this call so that I could add you and make sure that you're in the loop. But I want to thank you for the point that you raised because it is unfair and unacceptable. You want me to continue talking or you have anything else to add?
Yeah, no. Well, I want to be brief too now. Right?
Okay, well,
at the end of the day,
yeah.
there's a lot of issues that taking place right now in the country, and people need to understand all the wrong things that the government doing. They're spending money mad and crazy in the health sector. They have nothing to show for it. We have a pitch lake in the country. Now we have the worst roads in the country. Every 2 days, man crashing because they're swerving from pothole, all kind of things. That's really and truly ridiculous. And it's really sickening now to be living in a country with this kind of governance. And then you're coming to tell me that I have to pay property tax. Look, when you buy a property, Phillip, I sure you know about stamp duty.
But that's what I was going to tell you.
That's
what I was going to tell you.
But
that's what I was going to say just now, that the government is being unfair. That's double taxation. Because stamp duty was supposed to be the government's share of a property. In fact, stamp duty, if they remove stamp duty and just let you pay property tax, that would be fair. And the government would lose. Because stamp duty, no matter how many times you sell the property, the government, like a casa in a gamble, will take a percentage of the pot. So they win every time. But what is going on is massive squandermania. And they cannot pay their bills. They can't pay all the bribe votes that they have. All the alphabet soup of handouts that they take, they uncover Peter to cover Paul with. Those things are going to come due just now. Look, somebody just messaged me about the army being forced to retire at 45. It's because they can't find money to pay these people that they give jobs to, and they ask them to vote for them. But I appreciate your call, and I want to tell you thank you very, very much for the points that you raised, and keep in touch. Yeah?
Yeah, Phillip. You too. Enjoy night.
Thank you, my friend. And we have about 10 more minutes to go, and with that, I'm gonna turn off the ability to take those calls now, but we will still take WhatsApps. And Good evening. I love this question. Good evening, Mr. Alexander. Job well done on your new show. Can you explain to us the purpose of the Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago? Simply put, the Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago was created to protect the members of the Citizens Union from private and public sector abuse. We are representing workers, we are representing children, we are representing individuals. But more than that, we are a proof of concept of what governance should be. The Citizens Union of Trinidad, oh, we get a call, but I have switched off the Bluetooth. I wonder if I can switch it back on in time to take this call. Let me see. Hello, good evening. You are live. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good night.
Yes. Yes, you're live.
Good night, Mr. Alexander.
Hi, good night. You hearing me?
Yeah, I'm a follower of you, your organization. I love the work you are doing. A question I have, are we able, is there anyone to confirm the cases that they claim to have yesterday and today, those 500 and something cases that they keep announcing?
Well, it comes down to, I mean, it's literally a matter of trust. My brother-in-law sent me a WhatsApp when the Miami Carnival people came home, and he said, watch this. This is what my brother-in-law, Ronnie, said to me. He said, watch what's going to happen. Count 14 days from this. Because we sent Trinidadians to Miami for Carnival by the thousand. And they came back with no PCR test, no test at all, and they no quarantine. They stepped right off the plane and went home and went about their business, sharing COVID like love. And because we know that vaccinated, unvaccinated, you get COVID, you spread COVID. And my brother-in-law said, 14 days from now, is going to be a spike. And when the spike was announced, he messaged me again. He said, what I told you 14 days ago. All of this is planned. These people know what they do. But at the end of the day, Trinidadians have to take some responsibility for all of this because we voted them into office and it is us to fire them. Yeah? So what I want you to do, if it's at all possible, please, if you could send me a WhatsApp with your name to my number, this number you just called, so that I could add you and have the team contact you to bring you on board, and I will also keep in touch with you via WhatsApp. Okay?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you for calling.
Have a good night.
You too. Thank you for calling. Yeah, and we were talking about the Citizens Union. The Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago function as a union of citizens. Its job is to protect its members from private and public sector abuse, and it does that. We've stood in the gap for people who were losing their house from banks and have them raise money to pay off their banks. We've stopped the government, the forced vaccinations for children. We stopped that. It's our pre-action protocol that stop them. We work together with others in everything. But we are prepared. We have a band of lawyers, about 15 lawyers that made themselves available to deal with these issues and sent a warning to the government that if you pursue this course of action, we will deal with you in the courts. Thankfully, we have an industrial court that has telegraphed quite early on that they are not going to be a part of the abuse of law. When the Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith, said the same thing to the government, he said, we are not going to be part of the abuse of the law, and that law is going to be enforced in the country, not what you feel. Were it not for people like Gary Griffith and the chair of the industrial court, we would have been a dictatorship a long time ago. Right now, we have one of the best human resource persons in our organization. He literally made himself available, and he's guiding and advising everybody from the KFC drivers to the Hyatt workers, Sagicor workers, law firms. We have law firms that come to us for representation. We're dealing with just about anybody and everybody, and we're standing for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Also, as a member of the Citizens Union, in the Citizens Union, there is something called the Citizens Union Business Affiliates Program. A lot of the advertisers that you see on the show tonight are business affiliates of the Citizens Union. Like Ramsaran's dairy products. And I've been drinking Ramsaran peanut punch since I was a little boy, and I was so happy to find out that they're not only a business affiliate, but they are sponsor of the show. Good night to the Ramsaran company. Thank you very much for the work that you do. Business affiliates give deals, discounts, and special benefits to Citizens Union members. So Citizens Union members give their business to Citizens Union business affiliates, and they get discounts and benefits from it. They get discounts on glasses. We have healthcare hospitals giving members free services. We have car companies and tire companies, and we just launched our jobs program that's going to be announced soon, where if you are a mason, a carpenter, a hairdresser, a mechanic, and you're looking to get your information out to the public, but to the Citizens Union members and give them a deal, that information is going out through our internal communication. We have catalogs, we have our website, citizensuniontt.org, citizensuniontt.com, and you can visit it and use that to join. We also announced, and I guess I can mention it here, that for Citizens Union members, we are going to be doing a starter home project and we've met with mortgage finance companies, and we've met with credit unions and private finance firms, and we've already gotten information as what is required to pre-qualify for a starter home from $500,000 up. It is only for Citizens Union members, and if you would like to qualify for a Citizens Union starter home, first of all, you need to be a member of the Citizens Union. So join and get that out of the way. But you could send a WhatsApp to 796-8172. Take that number, 796-8172, and say, please add me to the list. We deal with the people interested in housing in the order of the names on the list. So we don't need no lotteries. As people find out and they add their names to the list, we deal with them. As I said, the houses are going to be from $500,000 up. We were told by a mortgage finance company that offers zero deposit at 2% interest that you need to have, you need to be working for more than $4,200 and less than $14,000 or $16,000 to qualify for the financing. So the combined income, mother, father, husband, wife, or whoever the significant homeowner is going to be, that's going to be responsible for the mortgage, you have to be working for more than $4,200 a month, but that's a safe number to hit. I guess 2 minimum wage earners could own a home now. And we're going to work with all the other finance companies and others who are interested in giving Citizens Union members other deals and benefits besides being able to own an affordable starter home, to get affordable mortgage rates. We have 2 minutes left, and I need to wrap this up. And I guess we made it through the hour unscathed. For a better country, we need to stand together. That has been the purpose and the role, I and all of us, the growing mass of people that are the Progressive Empowerment Party and the Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago. I'd like to invite all of you who are not yet a member of the Progressive Empowerment Party to visit peptt.com/join. I want to remind you, don't forget that there is a Victoria Foods grab and go, and you can send a WhatsApp to 4712888 and get your name on a WhatsApp that gets you messages regularly as to what specials and they're having, and 218 food for your deliveries. I'd like to thank Multicultural TV for making this opportunity available to us, Satish Ramsaran, Felicia Holder, Sean Sudara, and the core team that have put this together, and the rest of the Citizens Union, PEP, Victoria Foods cabinet that make all of this happen. I'd like to thank Trinidad and Tobago, invite all of you to stand together with us as we try to get ourselves a better nation. Thank you. Good night.